On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. So much news has happened. Obviously, I took a couple days off. Had a lovely trip out to Catalina with some friends for celebrating their birthday. So, very good time. Glad I'm back. It's always hard, though, taking some time off. It just tends to be a whole lot to go through. But here we are. Definitely caught up, and we've got some news to talk about. Some of it you might have already heard. I don't know. But I got to cover the news. I got to cover it. You know what I mean? Now, we've had a few messed up issues that have happened in this country recently, very recently. So New York City, Blackstone Tower, there was a shooter. The guy was ID'd as Shane Tamura. Individual walked in with what looked like an AR-15. I think someone said an M4 type weapon. But anyway, he took his own life. He killed 4 people, injured another. Ended up on the 33rd floor, supposedly on accident. But it ended up on the 33rd floor, which is kind of interesting. He also claimed to have a mental issue, the CTE, which I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing, but I'll slow it down a little bit. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It is something that happens typically to football players, and oddly, it generally seems to cause people to lash out in violence and then ultimately kill themselves. There's a few different examples of it, oddly. But this is the gentleman that had the CTE, that did shoot the people up, that ended up killing his own self, wrote this letter out, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Study my brain, please. I'm sorry. Tell Rick I'm sorry for everything. He puts his computer password in there, Jack19612. Really good password. But CTE research, right? And he referenced Terry Long in his suicide letter. Terry Long, he had CTE and ended up drinking a gallon of antifreeze while he had CTE and commit suicide. We also have this player, Aaron Hernandez, former Patriot tight end, who was convicted of murdering a man and then died by suicide as well. Apparently was found to have the disease. So this CTE, there's some definite correlations, obviously, with football players. It has to do with a section of the brain that gets damaged, and then they damage it again before it's truly healed, and that creates this, I guess, this atrophy, they're calling it, of the fornix area of the brain. The only way you can tell if you've got it is to seriously slice your brain after you're dead. Obviously, slicing your brain while you're alive doesn't work well for the whole staying alive thing. So this is, whatever. Whether he was, I can assume there's all sorts of conspiracy type theories around this, and I mean, he could have been programmed, could have been MK'd, all these things. We don't know for sure. When they do an autopsy, maybe we will at that point. He definitely played football. It was funny. He was apparently trying to get to the NFL. At least this is what we found out from Eric Adams. He was trying to get to the NFL. The NFL was also in this same building. Apparently took the wrong elevators, ended up on the 33rd floor in a different facility. I believe he shot one individual up there and then ended up taking his own life, as we stated. He kind of made it sound like the NFL was responsible for him having this CTE, which is not true. He played high school football. He did not play in college, let alone professional. So maybe because NFL has studied this so much, whatever the case is, it's very strange. Also, 2 killed, 3 injured in a Reno casino shooting. This happened yesterday, on Monday. So 3 were hospitalized in this shooting. The gunman apparently got shot by the police. We don't know still, at least I hadn't seen anything else to suggest that he's alive or dead. He was in the hospital, so one would assume he was alive. They caught him. Got a good guy here, apparently in a Walmart parking lot out in Michigan. He had a firearm. Well, an individual had run around and stabbed 11 people. Well, that guy with the firearm held him till police arrived, and this man is arrested and, I believe, been charged with, at least, the murders. We got the knife man who stabbed 11 people inside the Michigan Walmart identified to be charged with terrorism. I guess when you kill that or stab that many people, it certainly fits. Gilley is his last name, I guess, 42 years old. Faced charges of terrorism and 11 counts of assault with intent to murder, the Grand Traverse County prosecutor has revealed. Yeah, it's pretty horrible what's going on. People are losing their minds, by the way, folks. This is partially what's happening during this transition. Homicides and other types of violent crime are dropping precipitously in the crime-ridden city of Baltimore, oddly. Now, weirdly, It's because they got rid of their Soros-backed DA. Once they got rid of that guy or girl or whatever it was, and then put in someone that's like literally, not soft on crime, gee whiz, the numbers start to get better. Isn't that strange? Who would have thunk that? Here is Bill Maher talking about, January 6th, and he kind of gets shut down. I don't know if this is Byron or if this is, I forget who this dude is, but he gets shut down hard, and this guy makes some brilliant points, I think. Check it out.
When I think about January 6th and pardoning all the people who were involved in that insurrection.
Insurrection? How you have insurrection with no guns, though? That's like having. That's like making coffee.
They brought tons of guns.
There's 400 guns currently in circulation. 40 million guns currently in circulation. One person was killed that day. It was Ashley Babbitt. She was a white unarmed person that was killed by a black Capitol police officer. Imagine if that had been the other way around. When I think of an insurrection as a war fighter, somebody that has seen some real nasty stuff, what people have to understand is that the summer of love leading up to that was something else. We were talking about $2 billion in damage. 200 cities had to go under curfew. 22 people lost their lives. And I understand that January 6th was a Democrats' white rhino, and they were going to run in that. They're going to win the next election. And Donald Trump is still president, last I checked.
Okay.
President Trump was shot, and then he had another attempt on his life yet again. Yes. And then when you have people saying that we are a threat to democracy, when you are calling him Hitler, you're calling 77 million people a threat to democracy. And this is exactly where this fission starts. I totally agree with you. I want to condemn all violence. I am a politician. I'm the only one sitting up here. I got 3 kids at home, and my wife is sitting up here right now. I love her dearly. What people have to understand is that we are all human beings first. It all has got to stop.
Okay.
And that's a really good point that has been made a few times in my world. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And it's important to remember that because we are a much, much larger than just the human component of ourselves. And we hopefully can have more compassion, especially for freaks like this. This is on a flight, EasyJet flight for the UK, and is shouting Allahu Akbar, death to America, death to Trump, and then they tackled him.
Going to bomb the flight, death to America, death to Trump. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
I'm wondering why it took him that long.
Sit down.
Yeah, whoops. It didn't seem like he was much of a threat, but who knows? Maybe they were trying to assess the situation. Fair enough. This is pretty good little thing going on. So the Democrats are starting to realize they've got a problem. Starting to realize that, again, there's polls that are out right now, and they're playing them up right now in the left-leaning media that Trump's numbers are dropping and yada, yada, yada. I don't believe that. I don't like polls to begin with, but there is a lot that is going on that is suggesting that the Democrats are losing and going in the wrong direction. This Zohran Mamdani guy is certainly not helping their cause any. This is a pretty good little segment that they did on, I think it was Newsmax, I believe. But it was pretty good. Check this out.
Let's welcome in our guest, Alderman in the city of Chicago, Raymond Lopez. Mr. Lopez, thank you first off for being a Democrat, an elected Democrat, one of the few elected Democrats who will even bother to talk to your liberty-loving Latino here. I got to ask you about this. A judge who would do this, and Democrats across the nation applaud this kind of thing. Democrats knowingly putting our public at risk. Is there any debate in your party about this level of extremism? Is it something you support?
Well, first off, Chris, it is something I absolutely do not support because I believe that you should be held accountable for what your actions are once you come to this country. And clearly, this is one very sick individual. Now, a judge that let him loose to avoid him being turned over to immigration authorities while under judicial custody is revolting, and that judge should be taken to task, if not removed from office, because there's an intentionality to obstruct justice, something that judge should know plenty about. But when it comes to the Democratic Party, overwhelmingly, the vast majority of Democrats who still have common sense and at least 5 working brain cells up here understand that this is wrong. Understand that these are not the individuals that when we say we care about immigrants, these are not the people that we are trying to protect. We're trying to protect those long-term undocumented individuals who have a path. But there's the far left, which is just enamored with this type of behavior. And it shows even from before the migrant crisis happened.
Well, Alderman, I want to boil this down. According to the Wall Street Journal, a poll, the Democrats only have 33% approval rating. And it's because of people like Socialist Mandani in New York and this Omar Fatah guy in Minnesota, plus the Democrats' anti-rule of law and their belief that the best woman for a job is a man. So do you think there is a problem in your party? And you've even got Mark Kelly out there in Arizona, the senator out there. He's saying there's a problem inside the Democrat Party. Do you agree?
Who would have thought people like Fetterman would have been the standard bearers of common sense within the Democratic Party? Because, yes, there's an elitism that's running rampant through the Democratic Party where people at the top are trying to tell everyone else in America what they should be concerned about, as opposed to what everyone in America is worried about, that the Democratic leadership refuses to listen to.
Alderman Raymond Lopez, sir, thank you very much. Appreciate the time, as always.
Now, one thing it's kind of good to keep in mind, and I think a lot of you guys have come to this conclusion, there's many of us, maybe not even all of us, but many of us that want to think for ourselves. I want to make up my own mind. I want to decide what I want to believe, what I don't want to believe, and I don't want anybody telling me what I can or cannot do, right? As long as I'm not hurting anybody. I mean, I get that general consensus, right? I get that. But as long as I'm not hurting anybody and I'm just walking around doing my thing and enjoying myself and believing all the crazy stuff I believe, then that's awesome, right? Then there's a whole bunch of people that don't want to think for themselves, that want to be told what to do. What's ultimately happening is you guys, the ripple makers, my good friends that are making this all possible, you guys are the example. We're the ones that are thinking for ourselves, or if anything, we're at least following like-minded people and thinking similar to them and thusly exemplifying that behavior to all the people that are followers, all the sheeple, all the right, all of them out there. We're allowing them to see this other path. This group of people that have been called every name under the book and they don't care anymore. And it's starting to not work and it's starting to not hurt. And the people on the left who are followers are, again, just following who they always thought they were supposed to follow. But now they see all these other people that seem to be doing really well, really fine. Things are getting better. Trump's actually seems to be helping, right? Like everything that I've been told doesn't seem accurate. So they'll begin to follow us. And that's how this is going to play. The sheeple will find their way to those of us. That how to start a movement video, which is fantastic. Again, it's important to realize how a very few of us can make an enormous difference. So never underestimate, especially if you're just starting a social media thing or just starting a video platform, whatever. I only have 12 people that watch me. Awesome. That's 12 more than you had prior, right? And it'll grow. Keep doing it. That's why I always say, do something you enjoy, and you'll actually find it's easier to do, and people will be drawn to it. The people will happen. You will essentially be another porch where you've flicked on your light, and the moths out there will come to you. That's all we can do. Broadcast your light, and the moths will come. And I don't mean that in any sort of disrespectful way, kind of hopefully more beautiful, because moths are, butterflies of the night, basically. So it is our time to shine. It is our place to glow, if you will. That was 2 accidental puns. We've got heroes. CVS clerk slams DA Alvin Bragg for charging him in self-defense. Literally, this dude gets attacked. A CVS guy gets attacked by a knife-wielding dude. He defends himself. I don't think he killed the dude or anything, but he defended himself. And he had to defend himself in court for self-defense. That's crazy what's going on in New York. Again, this is the nonsense that has to stop. A jewelry influencer, I guess some guy called the Watch King. He was zapped with a stun gun and robbed of about $560,000 in just an ambush where they came and got this guy out of nowhere. I think this is actually the video up top. We'll play it. Check this out. This is kind of wild. We'll give it a second here to be done loading the ad. Okay, no volume. So bad guy in yellow, that's the guy, the Watch King. And then I think tries to zap him, but it doesn't seem to work very well. Then bad guy number 2, they're masked. They get this guy, this person just drives by because, it's New York. Someone getting beat up and victimized is totally normal because Alvin Bragg. They steal all the stuff off this dude, right? And I'm sure somehow it's his fault. Alvin Bragg will probably try to throw the book at him. So again, they get away. I don't know if maybe that was the getaway car, frankly. I don't remember. So a lot of people right now too, they're all pissed off about a CoBear show being canceled. And they're trying to protest. In fact, they had a protest. I think it was in New York or something like that. And literally like a dozen people showed up, literally like 12 people. They were hoping there was going to be this nationwide, literally, they were hoping that there would be a nationwide protest about CoBear losing his show. There was 12 people that showed up in one location and it fizzled out within minutes. CoBear's show is losing $40 million for about 4 years. That's $160 million they lost. They kind of were calling it, in this basic show, which I didn't listen to, but it was basically left-wing affirmative action. Kind of was, right? So Piers Morgan even calls it out. He goes, late night host, hyper-partisan activist hacks for the Democrats. No wonder CoBear got canned. He had a number of tweets that were pretty good. We're going to read some of these. He said, this is so damning. Most of America's biggest late-night hosts have become nothing more than hyper-partisan activist hacks for the Democrats, a party that's rarely been more unpopular. No wonder CoBear got canned. More will follow, all right? Also had this post he did. He said, just watched a drooling 60-minute segment tonight about John Oliver, who was proud of telling his viewers not to vote for Trump at the last election. He told them to vote for Kamala Harris instead. That's not comedy. It's partisan political activism. Piers said, he's so right when Jay Leno talks about it, and Jay Leno's 100% right on this. And I think, I think Jay Leno's probably I think he's center-left. I think it's pretty much where he's at, but he really, I think, tries to stay out of politics, and here's why. Jay Leno says late-night TV hosts alienate their audiences with political jokes. Quote, to me, I like to think that people come to a comedy show to kind of get away from things, the pressures of life, whatever it might be. Now you have to be content with now you have to be content with half the audience. And in this case, not quite even half, because more than half voted for Trump. So you lose a whole group of people badly. And you continue to double down and triple down and quadruple down. And 4 years into it, $160 million later, you got nothing to show for it. You didn't win the election. You didn't sway the votes like you thought you would. Piers Morgan put this one out. Trump didn't cancel CoBear. He canceled himself with poor ratings, huge costs, and boring viewers with anti-Trump bias. So all the people that are saying, he did this because of the deal they made with Trump, or Trump made them do this. No, I don't even think CoBear was ever significant enough. I mean, Maury had come up. Obviously, had him come to the White House. That was pretty significant. But he hasn't talked to any of these guys, really. I don't think he's ever pointed them out. And Kimmel's just stupid. Kimmel's not going to make it for sure. My boy John goes, I don't know, man. Lately he's been very, very hard on the politic thing, and I'm sure he's being forced to do that. I generally tend to find him normally kind of left center. But again, a lot of these guys have contracts, and contracts state what you got to do. It's one of the reasons why it's good to not sign too many contracts when you get into this kind of business. A lot of people will find themselves doing it. I just know people that have done it. You lose your autonomy. You lose your abilities. It's not good for you. Healthy Home, loving this product, loving what it's doing, loving how it's making other people feel as well. Key products, key takeaways, my friends. Stem Active. You want to get your stem cell count up. This does it naturally. You're not putting stem cells in yourself. You're actually causing your body to produce more stem cells, 25 to 40% within a very short period of time of taking the gel or the pills. I do the pills, like them myself. They're just kind of easier. I've always got some water handy, or wine possibly, depending on what time of day it is. But the gel is a liquid. It's much easier to take, frankly. Probably gets into your system quicker. To be honest, it's probably the better way to go. My girlfriend just stopped taking hers, so I'm going to try the gel after I finish this bottle, and I'll see if I like it more. We'll check it out. But it helps your stem cell count go up. I had a jacked shoulder. It's now fine. It doesn't hurt when I work out at all, and it was dislocated when I was younger. So it helps heal things. Girlfriend literally had calcification. I saw the x-ray myself. She had calcification. I pointed at it on the x-ray and said, that's where your problem is probably, sweetie. That's what the doctor said. I was like, take that. Not like it was hard to figure out. It was pretty obvious. But she doesn't have that problem now. She can hug me when I see her in the morning. She can raise her arm up without wincing. Stem Active's awesome. Between that and possibly the Amaze, because this helps with sore muscles and joints. But I don't think it's really in the joint. It looks, I don't know, like it's kind of, I don't know, maybe it is in the joint, but it's calcification. I think it's Stem Active. I think it's, I don't know, whatever. Well, it could be both. If you're having a real bad, maybe. I do know a police officer, too, that had all sorts of, like, just pains from her hips because she was carrying weight weird. Like, she had, you know, a lot of her firearm stuff done one way, but then she'd pick up her computer bags with a certain arm all the time, and just started to hurt. And she was finding a lot of relief, if you will. So the stem cell stuff is amazing. And again, there's no stem cells in it. It's causing your own body to produce stem cells naturally. Balance is saving relationships, first off, and it's saving a lot of people from, women specifically, from a really uncomfortable time of life. You get to that certain age, your hormones start getting all weird, and it causes a lot of very strange symptoms. So I've heard, and so I understand. I've never experienced it, of course. But, you know, mood swings. You get temperature swings. You're having issues sleeping at night. It's just nothing. Relationships obviously suffer too because you're frustrated and you're just not happy and they're not feeling right. And balance is literally doing that. It's bringing balance back. And I'm getting a lot of feedback from people that are saying this is actually making a huge difference, getting them back to like how they usually feel or how they should feel, right? It's helping them deal with it. Again, there's no synthetic hormones or hormones of any kind in this. It's plant-based materials that help your body naturally do this. It's this healthy home. Heal thy home. Balance, it's a transdermal lotion. You literally put a little on your wrist, rub your wrists together because you got a lot of blood flow, right? And it's in like Flynn, and you're good to go. And people are actually finding this this lasting upwards of 2 months or more. Depends how much you use, and you kind of got to figure that out yourself. But this is actually a really good purchase, especially if you're dealing with those sets of circumstances. Amaze, a collagen supplement, amazing. I love this. This helps with the hair, helps with joints, helps with skin, sagging skins, like all these things affect us. Collagen is the most important protein when it comes to that. So it's collagen peptide. It's one of the best forms of collagen you can get. And it's a liquid as well, which means it goes straight into your system like that. There's no digestion really happening. It's literally absorbed almost immediately. It is incredible, and you will notice the difference. The one thing I totally noticed about my girlfriend when she came back is her face. Her face looks like, she looks like 5-10 years younger. It's weird. Like, it just looks all shiny, and it looks amazing. And because she's double dosing on it, and I was shocked at how amazing she looked. I think some of it's maybe I just missed her stupid face, but frankly, I think she just looked radiant. She looked beautiful. It was awesome. So it was really nice to see her, too. Prime, it's funny, I see her and then I go out of town for a day. Anyway, Prime gives you energy. It opens up your blood vessels, more flow, more oxygen. You will really notice it. It's weird. You won't notice when you got more energy. You'll just notice you've got more energy. And it kicks in very quickly. I'll take it before I go to the gym. It just gives me more energy. And again, I think it's just because more oxygen is flowing through your body, so you just have more energy, oxygen. It's awesome. It's incredible. It tastes great. It's a powder. You just kind of swirl it around in your mouth a little bit until it totally dissolves, and within a few minutes, you're primed. That's for sure. And again, you don't really feel it. There's no buzz to it in any way. Like caffeine, you can generally feel like when it kind of kicks in, you're like, okay, I got a little caffeine thing going. This, you don't notice. It's weird. It's pretty cool. And then Stem Active for pets, folks. You got pets that are going through stuff. They have surgery and stuff. Stem cells are the same thing. They're cells that can become other cells. So in humans, in any animal, they are amazing when it comes to healing. So they enhance the ability for us to do our own healing. You got a pet that's maybe gone through something, surgery, right? Any of those types of things, having to run around with that stupid collar on, get them some Stem Active. They're chewable. Easy to get in them, and it definitely helps the healing process. Go to danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com, and make sure you make that healthy choice. Healthy choice, healthy living, healthy life. And that's it. What you focus on is what you're going to get back, so it's good that way. FEMA is going to require states to use 10% of their Homeland Security grants for illegal alien enforcement operations. This is interesting. Let's just think of the states for a second that don't want to do this, right? So if they don't use 10% of their FEMA budget the way they're supposed to use their FEMA budget, then I would assume that they could be punished in some legitimate way. This is what they're doing, is they're squeezing and forcing the states into a corner they can't get out of. Most of the blue states, most of the sanctuary states are way broke, like bankrupt broke. And all they're doing is making it harder for them to stay in that corner. You want to stay in that corner? All right. We're going to take away even more of your money. Then what are you going to do? We can't, right? And they're just in there freaking out. Gavin Newsom's got to be having a tissy fit. So this is pretty funny. States shall use their federal funds to enforce immigration laws against all inadmissible and removable aliens. So just, you got to use it. It's got to. You got somebody in jail that you know is bad. You need to use your FEMA money to do it. And if you're not, and if we can prove it, she doesn't say all that, but it's implied in there. DOJ accuses anti-Trump Judge Boasberg of misconduct. This is the one that wouldn't let us send the dude back to the Trender or the MS-13 member back to Venezuela. Well, they're alleging that he made, and this is Pam Bondi that's doing this, by the way. They alleged this misconduct complaint, or lodged, I should say, a complaint against him, a U.S. District Court judge, alleging he made inappropriate public comments about President Donald J. Trump. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced the action, stating, "Today, at my direction, DOJ filed a misconduct complaint against U.S. District Court Chief Judge James Boasberg for making improper public comments about Trump and his administration." Now, of course, he was posted by good old Obama, right? The complaint alleges that during a March 11th judicial conference attended by Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts and other federal judges, Boasberg remarked that the Trump administration would disregard rulings of federal courts and cause a constitutional crisis, according to Chad Missel, Bondi's chief of staff. Missel condemned the statement, saying although his comments would be inappropriate even if they had some basis, they were even worse because Judge Boasberg had no basis. The Trump administration has always complied with all court orders. There's been alleged things said, right? Like, well, maybe we should just disregard. Somebody thought that, but that's never been what Trump has done. And you can't, just because somebody throws all sorts of crazy out, which you should do in all cases, let's look at every possible circumstance or scenario and which should we do, and then make a decision. And that's all you're supposed to do. So if somebody said something crazy like, let's disregard the judges, right? That's an option, but probably not a good one. And again, never has happened. So the statement that Boasberg made actually causes a tinge or a tainting of the trust of the justices, right? The judges. And so it hurts the courts. This is probably not going to go well, and it wouldn't surprise me if Boasberg is one of the many examples. We've already had one judge that's been defrocked, as I keep calling it. I don't know what they actually call it when they take their robe. Defrocked, I think, is more of a priest thing. It makes it funnier to me. But anyway, but yeah, this dude's probably going to be exemplified because he's done something that's kind of messed up, and he should get a slap on the wrist. He probably won't. I can't imagine them necessarily taking away his robe or anything, but what I could see them doing is being like, you'd have to remove yourself from any case involving Trump because you have demonstrated publicly and without evidence that you have bias against him. And because of that, you apparently cannot be impartial. So that would be, I think, a fair punishment. Well, again, we'll see how things play out. Democrat AGs bring lawfare case to stop Trump trafficking illegals. They don't want us looking into the SNAP program. So we've got sanctuary states, New York being one of them, California being another, and Michigan being the third that they mentioned here. They don't like the idea that they're supposed to hand over their Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program recipients list. They don't want to do that. They don't want to give that list up because they know it's going to show a bunch of illegal aliens, and they know that that's not going to be good. So they're trying to put a lawsuit to stop the federal government from doing its legal job, just because you've got states that want to hide what they're doing. Anyway, this isn't going to go. There's no chance in hell these AGs are going to have a case. In fact, I would not be surprised if it was dropped. I'm not sure if they were able to get a good federal judge, shop there. But the second it hits the appellate court, no matter which appellate court it gets to, this will get shot down in a second, and they will put a stop on whatever these people were trying to do. It won't even take long. Judge Indira Talwani, she expands her order. So now, rather than just the plaintiff, which she's not allowed to do, the Supreme Court decision tells us specifically. So there were specific plaintiffs for specific states or whatever in her case, or whether it was very specific on which Medicaid facilities. She's now said all of these Planned Parenthood facilities have to get Medicaid money. She's not allowed to do that. This law was passed by Congress and signed in by Trump. And now we've got a crazy judge that's actually trying to go against a law that literally was passed and is legal. All you're doing is taking away tax money for abortions. That's it. And she has no place to stand on this. In fact, I would love to know Judge Indira Talwani's connections, either who she's getting money from, or again, something, how many abortion cases she's had in front of her. I don't know, something. So, this chick is so knee deep in this, it's unreal. But whatever the case, she's going to keep just shooting herself in the foot over and over. New York County clerk sued by Texas Attorney General over shipping abortion pills. This is a really interesting case. So essentially, Texas has this law where you can't do abortions, and this a clinic in New York sent the pills that caused the abortion, right, to somebody in Texas. They, Ken Paxton or whatever, they did the case and found the person guilty, and so they wanted to do a civil fine of $113,000 plus, I think, legal fees plus, late fees too. But New York's got this thing called a shield law, and there's a few states, I guess, that do this, that essentially shield their people from other states' harassment. But this person crossed state lines, or essentially sent medicines across state lines, which now kind of makes it international or a national crime, in my opinion. So I feel like the FBI should actually get involved with this and be like, well, there's a law in Texas that says you can't do it. You literally went and sent something from one state to another. Now that's interstate commerce. Now we get involved. And yeah, your person's guilty. You either pay the fine or we'll put you in jail. Take your pick. So I don't know. The shield law is interesting. I don't know if it'll hold. We're going to obviously find out. It's going to be another one of those many things that goes through the courts, hopefully quickly. Let's see. DOJ presses to investigate election problems that have now been exposed by Iranian hackers in 2020. Apparently, Iranian nationals demonstrated vulnerabilities in states' voters' registration systems by hacking Alaska's. Now, what's interesting is they took those vulnerabilities, particularly regarding overseas voters and their ballots, and they must be investigated by the Department of Justice and fixed across the U.S., election integrity groups warn. While Alaska admitted to its voter registration system being breached in 2020, the federal government said it was that it was aware of at least one state that had been hacked by Iranians. The DOJ later said that approximately 11 state voter websites were attacked at the time. In the Election Research Institute new report titled Failure of the Weaponized Department of Justice to Protect the U.S. Election System, it shows how there was a significant increase in the number of overseas ballot applications and ballots submitted in 2020 as Iranian hackers revealed how they could use the data from Alaska's breached voter registration system to complete these applications for these overseas ballots. Now, that's a number that we haven't really heard specifically yet. We know China did over 1.5 million. We're now finding out that Iran had a decent number. And so we know that these are two countries for sure that would have favored having Biden or Kamala as the president. They would have preferred that, obviously, because they both, Biden as well, were extraordinarily favorable to Iran and to China. They were giving our country away, it seemed. So, yes, this is a big deal, and these things need to come out, unquestionably, and I think they seem to continue to do that. I just am getting lucky lately because Pete Buttigieg keeps showing up in the news. Department of Transportation apparently ignored safety issues, and they built dozens of windmill projects near highways and railroads. Now, specifically railroads, it seems. I don't know what it is about the apparent technology in the communication systems within the trains. It's probably very old, and the frequency of the windmills must be of such to where it actually is countering, if you will, or maybe it's like similar or different phase or something strange and actually causing a like where it's blocked, but it's dangerous. They've found this to be the case. And it seemed that they initially, DOT was like, ooh, we shouldn't approve these projects because they're too close to certain things. And then, Pete Buttigieg or someone just barely under him, maybe, anyway, that they basically approved it and said, it's cool, we don't care about that. So we've got a bunch of windmills that are entirely too close to cars and entirely too close to, apparently, trains. Now, I will say here in California, we do have a section out there by Palm Springs, or when you're basically heading down into Palm Springs. There's a butt ton of these things, all sorts of different shapes and sizes and everything. Some of them extraordinarily close to the roads. So I've never noticed anything, but again, I don't know, I'm probably usually listening to something from my phone as opposed to like listening to the radio, but I doubt they would interfere with the radio. So again, I don't know what's up with the specific frequency, but anyway, But he shouldn't have done that. That's what I know. Ratcliffe was on. He's talking about Hillary. The next bit of this whole Russiagate stuff is going to be delicious. I mean, the Epstein stuff's going to be fun, too, as that gets worked in. We got some news around that, too. But this whole Russiagate thing and Hillary and all the key players, all the people that we have wanted to see busted for so long are finally happening, guys. Here they are talking about it on Fox News, which is pretty impressive.
Referrals to the DOJ.
Well, Maria, so part of what came out last week was about how John Brennan, Clapper, Comey, they all pushed the known fake Steele dossier into intelligence community assessments and as the basis for Crossfire Hurricane and all that. But what hasn't come out yet and what's going to come out is the underlying intelligence that I have spent the last few months making recommendations about final declassification and sent that to the Department of Justice that will come out in the John Durham report classified annex. And what that intelligence shows, Maria, is that part of this was a Hillary Clinton plan, but part of it was an FBI plan to be an accelerant to that fake Steele dossier, to those fake Russia collusion claims by pouring oil on the fire, by amplifying the lie and burying the truth of what Hillary Clinton was up to. And you're right, Maria. John Brennan testified to John Durham in August of 2020. He also testified to the House Oversight Committee in 2022. Hillary Clinton testified before John Durham under oath in 2022. James Comey testified before the Senate committee in September 2020. All of that's within the last 5 years. And much of that testimony is, frankly, completely inconsistent with what our underlying intelligence that is about to be declassified in the Durham Annex, what that reflects. And so, you know, Pam Bondi does have a strike force. It is a different Department of Justice, a different FBI, and an opportunity to look at how these people really did conspire to run a hoax, a fraud on the American people and against Donald Trump's presidency. And so coming forward, we understand that they did this, but now we need to understand how they did this. And I think that's why you see the left losing their minds over this, Maria, saying, why are you spending time? This is vindictive. You're going back. This is Donald Trump, seeking retribution. It's not. Donald Trump's election by the American people was a statement, Maria. They said to everyone, we know what you did to Donald Trump, and we reelected him because we know this was all fake. We know it was a hoax. Now we want to understand how you did it so that it can't happen again. And that's what this declassification process that we're undergoing right now, what's going on, why it's so important, and why there can be accountability and preventability to prevent these same people that did it in 2016 with the Steele dossier, with the Hunter Biden laptop in 2020 from doing it again in the future.
So what I think I hear you saying is there is still an opportunity for...
Kind of a weird place to cut it, but yeah. So we are moving forward. Things are happening. And again, here's Devin Nunes kind of speculating about what the raid was on Mar-a-Lago. Now, I've heard also, and I don't think Nunes would ever necessarily be able to say it this way, but I think one of the only people that's really said this specifically was Juan O'Savin, and he said frequently they were looking for the biscuit, the nuclear biscuit, and that was specifically what they were going through. I think we're being intelligent here. They're probably looking for a few things. We'll be fair. And second off, I think Nunes is being intelligent and sort of taking advantage of this and doing kind of what the deep state typically does and actually get people to focus in a direction. We've got enough plausible deniability. We've got enough confusion around certain things to where we can almost start to paint the story our own way and speculate. So again, thinking that something happened for a reason isn't illegal. It's not conspiratorial. It's just, hey, this is the thoughts I got on this. I don't know, It's the best I got with the analysis I've done. But here is Nunes talking about it right here. Check it out.
And then there's something else that is important that I think you already know about. The raid on Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
So this continues. Same people doing the same nonsense continue this hoax and raid Mar-a-Lago, which I believe we need to see what were they actually looking for when they went to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
I think that's an important key, and that the statute of limitations has not run out on.
And maybe, just maybe, it was Russia collusion evidence.
My guess is that it was.
That's my
but
guess too.
That's a guess.
Yeah, no,
we don't know.
Yep.
But all related, all the same people. They raid Mar-a-Lago, unprecedented on the home of a former president at the time. They raid Mar-a-Lago, same people, same hoaxes, same everything, but with the power of the Justice Department, with a fake special counsel. This guy Jack Smith.
Yep.
It
would tie it all together.
So there's all of that that needs to be looked at, and hopefully justice will prevail.
It will, but yeah, we've got to go through this process. The left is not going to believe it. Nonetheless, we're going to continue. So one thing that was brought up, what hasn't come out yet and what's going to come out is the underlying intelligence, Ratcliffe told Fox News. Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures, pretty sure I played it. And what's that intelligence shows, Maria, is that part of this was a Hillary Clinton plan, but part of it was FBI plan to be an accelerant to that fake Steele dossier, to those fake Russia collusion claims by pouring oil on the fire, by amplifying the lie and bearing the truth of what Hillary Clinton was up to. In the summer of 2016, U.S. intelligence intercepted Russian intelligence talking about a Hillary Clinton plan to falsely accuse Donald Trump of Russian collusion, to vilify him and smear him with what would become known infamously as the Steele dossier file. CIA boss said he combed through predecessor John Brennan's handwritten notes on the matter to discover the underlying intelligence behind it is revealed exactly what happened. All of this evidence that's been hidden and buried from the American people is finally coming to light. The light will be the best disinfectant. Paul Sperriel also posted this. Sources close to CIA, I think this might be true, but close to CIA Chief John Ratcliffe tell me he's declassified all CIA equities in Special Counsel John Durham's report, including interview transcripts, appendices, investigative notes, and DOJ is poised to release well-organized crime strike force vets for evidence. So we got a lot coming, and they're going to be playing it out, I think, intentionally. They're going to drip it out as it needs to, but it will play out that way. President Trump said he wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein for years. In fact, on the next thing, we even find out that he pilfered one of his people, someone that's infamous, by the way. Needless to say, Trump is, he's not been to the island either.
That's such old history. Very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out. And that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
Mr. President,
and by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
Yeah. Virginia Gooshry was the girl, was one of the girls anyway, that he took, and probably the final straw, because he understood what he was doing with these ladies, and he was just abhorred by that. So yeah, this is going to break open. The truth is going to come out. They're going to try to blame Trump. We've got Trump talking more about it right here. I think this gets into why he thinks that the Bidens were behind all this stuff, because, Comey and the same people were. So I think I haven't actually heard this. I was going to listen to it with you guys. Check it out.
On the Epstein files, or your name has not appeared in the Epstein files. But doesn't the AG have to tell you if your name?
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this: those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey, they were run by Garland, they were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier. We call it the fake news dossier. And the whole thing was a fake. The whole thing was a fake. They can put things in the file that are fake. But those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe and then he gave out because he was 25 points down? And then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about it. She was a horrible vice president. She was a border czar, but she never went to the border. She never once called a border patrol agent to find out how we're doing. But she was the border czar. Her name was Kamala. Nobody knows her last name. It was Harris. But nobody knew her last name. So I ended up, how would you like to end up in a race where you're killing somebody, you're beating him, and then they say, all right, we'll take him out. He's not working. Let's put somebody else. And then she had a 6-week honeymoon. It was amazing. They predicted she would have a 6-week honeymoon, and she did. And then she got slaughtered. But think of it. Those files were run by these people. They were run by my enemy. If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election. Yeah.
Unquestionably, right? Unquestionably. So, again, this desire to release the files, one, I still think a lot of stuff's tied up in any investigations that could be going on. Two, possibly, and I think this would be wise, they should be investigating Comey's daughter, and in which case any files that were added by her ever should be scrutinized, or anybody underneath her. It should be scrutinized, right? Those should be investigated. So, how much stuff actually would come out? I don't know. Again, I know everybody wants stuff, and maybe Gillen's going to give us some of that. Jizlane, we'll see. Maxwell's demanding immunity after subpoena from a House Oversight Committee. She's like, her lawyer's like, I guess she's not really talking. She's talking through them. But he goes, Ms. Maxwell is actively pursuing post-conviction relief, both in the pending petition before the United States Supreme Court and in a forthcoming habeas petition. Any testimony she provides now could compromise her constitutional rights, prejudice her legal claims, and potentially taint a future jury pool. Public reports, including your own statements, indicate that the committee intends to question Ms. Maxwell in prison and without a grant of immunity. Those are non-starters. Ms. Maxwell cannot risk further criminal exposure in a politically charged environment without formal immunity. So this is, again, I think a lot of people are going to, just because all they care about is getting these Epstein files out. First off, Trump brought it up twice. He didn't promise this. He brought it up twice. Yeah, I'll release him, which he's done, right? It was just a big nothing burger, and we all expected it to be more. And so we want to somehow blame everybody for it, right? And I mean, not a lot's been released yet. I think there's still some stuff, but it's supposedly not a lot, right? So a lot of people are going to want that no matter what. They're going to just like, yeah, we got to have the Epstein files out, so give her immunity. But this chick was trafficking people. So for all the people that, the children, we got to do it for the children. Well, so, okay, which is it, right? What's more important? I mean, Jeffrey Epstein's no longer trafficking children. Jizlane Maxwell's no longer trafficking children. The crime has been stopped, at least in that regard. Someone else is probably doing it, but what's Jizlane going to necessarily know about that? Do you think she went to a Diddy party? I mean, maybe, but doubtful, right? I think they had their own circles. I think there was other circles. There's probably circles in England, circles in Israel. There's probably circles all over the place. And again, everyone insists it's Mossad. It's the deep state, folks. Okay, deep state. People get too hung up on giving it an initial. Whether it's Mossad, CIA, MI6, it won't matter. It's the deep state. It's not going to be the entire organization that was doing this. It's going to be the bad apples within it. So this is, again, how it plays out is how it plays out, and I accept whatever happens. I accept what you all decide, if you will. But, yeah, to me, I'd rather almost see her... I'd rather see it get delayed a little bit, just because she said a bunch of stuff to Blanche, and I'm curious what came from that, but none of that can necessarily be used. She had partial immunity. Basically, I think anything that they talked about could not be used against her, essentially, would be probably very similar to what this agreement was. And Blanche was like, nah, I don't care. I don't want to get involved with your Supreme Court thing. That's, the people are already involved with that, and that's already moving along before me, right? So I don't know. We'll see. Again, this is exciting times. We're seeing things play out. We're seeing our government actually be tested. We're seeing people be tested. So, yeah, Jizlane Maxwell is asking the Supreme Court to overturn her conviction. I think that's silly because she's saying that the deal that was given to Epstein and all of his cohorts should have applied to her, that she was one of the cohorts. But the courts basically said, no, we gave the deal to him, not to you. You were just his girlfriend or whatever. So that's what this main case is about, is whether or not she should have been protected by that deal that was made. I mean, I think that should play out, right? I mean, she may never tell us the truth, but yeah, we literally have to let her out of jail. Like, she would literally be no longer punished for any crimes that we know she's been committed or convicted of. I don't know. I'm curious how a lot of people come to on this one. Trump says Epstein stole or poached young women from his Mar-a-Lago spas, including Virginia Giuffre. That's where she came from, by the way. The one that, committed suicide in Australia. Just a finger quote on that. Secretary Kennedy has put this out on his official Sec Kennedy site. The 1986 Vaccine Act gave vaccine makers immunity against lawsuits by children who suffer vaccine injuries. The statute and numerous subsequent court decisions recognize that vaccines, like all medicines, are, in the words of the American Academy of Pediatrics case, unavoidably unsafe, and that a certain percentage of vaccinated children will suffer injuries or death. Congress, therefore, simultaneously created the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, VICP, which obliged HHS to compensate injured children. In other words, of then Labor and Public Welfare Committee Chairman Senator Edward Kennedy, when children are the victims of an appropriate and rational national policy, a compassionate government will assist them in their hour of need. Under the VICP, vaccine victims can petition for compensation to the so-called vaccine court, which pays out awards from a trust fund endowed by a 75-cent surcharge on every vaccine. Congress intended that injured children be compensated quickly and fairly for injuries, either presumed or proven to be causally connected to vaccines, with doubts about causation resolved in favor of the victim. To date, the vaccine court has paid out $5.4 billion with a B dollars to 12,000 petitioners, but the VICP no longer functions to achieve its congressional intent. Instead, the VICP has devolved into a morass of inefficiency, favoritism, and outright corruption as government lawyers and the special masters who serve as vaccine court judges prioritize the solvency of the HHS trust fund over their duty to compensate victims. The structure itself hobbles claimants. The defendant is HHS, not the vaccine makers, and claimants are therefore facing the monumental power and bottomless pockets of the U.S. government represented by the Department of Justice. Furthermore, most of the special masters come from government, legal, or political posts and typically display an extreme bias that favors the government side. There is no discovery, and the rules of evidence do not apply. The government lawyers do not allow children's attorneys access to the Vaccine Safety Data Link, a taxpayer-funded CDC surveillance system that houses the best data on vaccine injuries. Attorney compensation is in the hands of notoriously biased special masters and often hostile government attorneys, who can leverage this power to turn petitioner attorney against their client's interests. The VICP routinely dismisses meritorious, dude, it's like such a lawyer. They dismisses meritorious cases outright or drags them out for years. Instead of quickly and fairly awarding compensation, special masters dismiss over half of the cases. Most of those that proceed typically take 5+ years to resolve, with many languishing for more than 10 years as parents struggle to care for children suffering with often extreme disabilities. Petitioners' attorneys complain that the special masters make punitive downward adjustments to attorneys' fees and medical expert fees to punish affected advocacy. Expert witnesses for injured children complain that they suffer intimidation and even threats that they will lose professional nature or NIH funding if they testify for injured children. The government pays its own medical expert witnesses promptly while simultaneously slow-walking payments for petitioners' experts, sometimes for years. The VICP is broken, and I intend to fix it. I will not allow the VICP to continue to ignore its mandate and fail its mission of quickly and fairly compensating vaccine-injured individuals. I am grateful to be working with AG Pam Bondi and HHS staff and fix this VISP. VICP? Staff to fix the he says VISP, but the whole thing talks about VICP. What is it, changing the name of it? Anyway, I think it's VICP he meant to say. Those letters aren't exactly close together, but together we're going to steer the vaccine court back to its original congressional intent. I know it's long, but this is huge. This is a really, really big deal. This, without straying too far into the weeds, this is probably a lot of the lawyers, or the judges, I should say, who would be surprised if there was some money going into pockets, right, from the vaccine companies. And I'm sure that Secretary Kennedy is not saying anything like that yet, and I'm certainly not saying that's true, but I am saying they were definitely not necessarily looking out for the interest of the children, and they were more worried about the money, which is also concerning. Again, if this thing doesn't pay or isn't getting loaded up properly, then we should address that as a separate issue. 12,000 kids getting $5.4 billion. It breaks down to, not a huge amount, probably a few million per person. Knock out the 3, so 5.4 divided by 12, so less than $1 million per person. I'm just doing some rough numbers here, but yeah, that's kind of a bummer. It's not that much money when you've been damaged, depending on what the damage is. Maybe it's depends. That's just an average. Medical versus non-medical immunization exemptions for childcare and school attendance. This is from the American Academy of Pediatrics. They just issued a policy statement calling for removal of religious and personal vaccine exemptions for school children in all 50 states. It's like, yikes. The American Academy of Pediatrics. So I don't know. We've still got a few of these organizations that are out there. I don't know how they've got sway in the world of science. I'll say that. And there's a lot of people that are going to, of course, use that to try to argue against what we're all pushing for, I think, right now. New BMJ Global Health study has confirmed that the World Health Organization's private fundraising arm, the WHO Foundation, has received tens of millions of dollars from pharmaceutical giants, big tech companies, and anonymous sources, with nearly half the funding now untraceable. Huge amounts of it have come from the Bill and Melinda Gates, which there's that whole thing going on with injecting South African children with live tuberculosis causing bacteria. They infected 260 kids, causing serious harm, all while excluding early post-vaccine infections from analysis and following a prior Gates-funded gain-of-function experiment that engineered TB, tuberculosis, I believe, to grow unchecked. The WHO Foundation, launched in 2020 to accept donations from entities the WHO cannot receive money from directly, now also counts Meta, TikTok, Maybelline, Sanofi, I don't know what that is, Boehringer Ingelheim, never heard of them either, Novo Nordisk, and some of the founders. So a lot of money moving through there. And of course, many people are wondering who's doing this, right? TikTok could be China's influence specifically, right? And they're trying to push the Western world essentially into a corner, or, well, kill the population. That was one of the many theories. They had it printed out on the Georgia Guidestone that they wanted to remove 17/18ths or 16/17ths, maybe it was, of the population, just because it's fun that way. Attacking critical nodes. So a U.S. fighter jet factory is now at risk of a strike by a Democrat-aligned union. All unions are Democrat-aligned. I don't think there's one out there that's not. They are. That's just part of what they're about. They're about that socialized kind of workforce concept, where essentially normally you would have a state rather than a private owner being told what to do, or essentially, mandating things. But it is what it is. There's probably plenty of pro union people out there. I'm very anti-union. I don't even make a joke. I don't hide it from it at all. Mom retired from UFCW, so grown up in it. I know my brother was retired from Safeway at one point, one of his multiple retirements. I think he's retired 3 times now. He's a pretty sharp dude, got lots of money. He's doing all right. So yeah, it is interesting. But Boeing, I don't know what they make at this particular location. There's 3,200 people that are involved. It's their St. Louis area. Again, I don't know if that's one of their specific planes or if this is one of the weapons. It's likely it sounds like one of the weapons lines, and it would be unfortunate maybe. It looks like they've got a picture of the F-15EX. I'm not sure if that's actually, they say here, F-18s, F-15s. T-7A and the MQ-25 are all apparently manufactured around there. I wonder if and where. I assume it's not manufactured. They're the new the 47, the F-47. I'm not exactly sure where they're making that. It makes me wonder, though, by the way, why Boeing got it. And I thought about it. Like, Lockheed's probably got so much top secret stuff because they've so proven themselves over and over and over that I'm sure they're doing like a bunch of projects right now that it's just like unfair. We're like, well, we got to give Boeing some money or they're going to go broke. So I'm sure Lockheed's doing some really crazy cool stuff right now. We just don't hear about it, which that's normal. Actually, one of my favorite books I ever read was the one written by, it was Ben What's-His-Face or whatever. That was the first skunkwork guy. Oh my God, it's phenomenal. Building the U-2 and then going to the SR-71 and then the stealth fighter, and that's kind of, I think, where he passed away or right around there. But it was a fascinating book. America's first transcontinental freight railroad has planned a mega merge. They're going to merge the two largest train groups, or U.S. railroads, I guess, Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern. Tell you what, if you're playing Monopoly, that's a big move. Big move if you get the two utility companies, huh? But yeah, that's big. That'll probably help in a lot of ways. 30% of the nation's freight happens by rail. So this is a big deal. Not sure if it's necessarily good for the consumer. Hopefully it is. Former CIA advisor uncovers Trump's $150 trillion plan. What he's talking about, and I want to see if this gets confirmed down the road, but this has probably got some legs. We're sitting on a landmine of mineral resources in this country, and they know it. They've been intentionally sitting on it and getting it farmed from other places for a smart reason, by the way. And I think they've always done it for this reason, but I think Trump's going to finally open it up. But you let everybody else run out of resources, and then you're the last with them. And, that's a pretty smart move if you can afford to buy them from other people, right? And you just sit on the same thing, just knowing you've got a gold mine. Well, Trump's going to finally open that gold mine up, and people are speculating it could be $150 trillion, where like, every American family would just suddenly get so much money back from the government, kind of like Saudi Arabia doesn't pay taxes because they're such a rich country. I think it is, or Qatar, one of those guys, one of those oil nations over there. Like, it's like nobody pays taxes. And I think everybody, I don't know, it's supposedly a really nice place to live, though they've got, kind of crazy religion laws. So that's a little sketchy, but whatever. But this guy was talking about it, former CIA advisor. Don't know if it's true. Again, it's a CIA person, Jim Rickards. Hope he's telling the truth. Who knows? We'll find out. But if there's any truth to that in any way, shape, or form, that's going to be pretty fantastic. U.S. tariffs finally got worked out with Europe, by the way. Instead of 30%, it's 15% for most stuff. I think like aluminum was still at 50%, and there's some other odds and ends. But the car industry in Germany specifically, which if you think about it, German is the number one GDP money, basically, in the European Union. Number two is France. Germany is hurting bad. Their auto industry. They've lost a huge amount of cash flow. And so that's like many billions of dollars for that matter. Volkswagen's not doing that great. They're doing better than BMW, but they're all they're Mercedes-Benz losing hard. So that is drastically affecting the car market of Germany. Now, Trump just turned Europe into a vassal market. Part of the deal is they've got to buy energy from us, LNG as well as oil. So they made a sweet deal. This is going to be beautiful, and it essentially makes Europe dependent on other nations, which is kind of good. They're all trying to get off of certain things, but this is because they've made so many bad decisions. They now have to buy all their energy. They're kind of screwed. They'll eventually figure it out and start turning stuff on. In fact, I think England finally turned on a nuclear power plant. I might have that story, or that might be from recently. There's my girl, Tiffany Meyer. China's going to honor the deal as long as Trump is president. And it was Scott Bessent. 140. What the hell? Let's play it. It's my girl. I have to play it.
U.S. and Chinese officials are meeting Monday to further ease trade tensions. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng are leading the delegations through Tuesday in Stockholm, Sweden, their third meeting in less than 3 months. The two-day trade talks will take place behind closed doors. On the agenda, how long the current tariff truce can hold, and key issues like U.S. sanctions related to fentanyl trafficking and China's purchases of sanctioned Russian and Iranian oil. Before heading to Stockholm, Secretary Bessent told reporters the third round of talks will focus on opening up China's markets. When pressed on whether he trusts China to honor any deal, Bessent didn't answer directly. Instead, he expressed full confidence in President Trump.
I am confident that they will live up to a deal when Donald Trump is president. So during President Trump's first term, there were substantial purchase agreements for 2020, especially in ag. They made all their purchase agreements as planned on time. When President Trump left office, they just walked away from the agreements.
The U.S. and China have launched the third round of meetings, coming hot on the heels of a landmark trade agreement signed Sunday between the U.S. and the European Union. Together, they account for roughly 30% of global trade. Analysts say the U.S.-EU deal could cast a long shadow over the U.S.-China trade negotiations. According to multiple media reports, Washington and Beijing are set to extend their tariff truce by 3 months beyond the August 12th deadline. Currently, the U.S. imposes 50% tariffs on Chinese exports. China levies 10% on U.S. goods. Last year, the U.S. trade deficit with China reached $295 billion. In April, President Trump said he wouldn't make a deal with China unless that trade deficit is solved.
And Trump is working it. It's coming. Says he's not seeking a summit with Xi, but he may visit China. There is a chance or discussion. I think there was a talk because Russia's going out there in September. So I think there's this discussion, but China's not really asked us to come. And Trump doesn't want to invite himself. Again, that would look weak. And Xi, I think, wants to be the one that looks like he's doing this, but he probably wants to have a good reason to do it. And a good reason would be to sign an official trade deal. They did talk about delaying any changes in tariffs for 3 months. I'm not 100% sure if Trump's okay with that or not. Might be. We'll see, right? That should pop up within the next 24 hours for sure. But this is all going on. It's interesting. So Trump is like, this fake news that I'm seeking a summit. That's not true. I'm not doing that. I'm not seeking anything. That's his thing. He's like, they oftentimes try to paint Trump as being weak, and Trump's like, dude, I'm not. I'm like the master at this stuff. Get out of here with this, making me look like a puss. So he's not having that. Let's just call it that. Market's down a little bit today. Anything crazy. Gold's up a little bit. Looked like it took a little bit of a crapper lately. It's down below that 33.50 mark, but it's still doing phenomenal. There's a lax, and again, there's a discussion that the dollar is going to be brought down, kind of controlled demolition. Ultimately, while that's happening, stocks are going to have an interesting time. Gold and silver prices are going to spike a lot. Gold, many are saying close to 5,000 easy. We're hearing silver easily hitting 50. It's sitting at 38 right now. And again, I think even as it progresses a little further down the road, this depends how bad it actually gets. But silver could easily hit 80 easily. And gold could easily get 6, 7, 8, depending. It just depends how badly the dollar's got to be eroded before I think we can kick the Fed out. I really, really think this is going to be tied to the Fed. They said gold would kill the Fed, destroy the Fed, and it's probably going to. Precious metals, not just for us, protecting our own wealth, which drslikesgold.com, but also for us protecting our ability to make our own and mint our own money, right? And have gold-backed currency. So we supposedly have a bunch of gold in Fort Knox. We don't know for sure. Ron Paul recommends nobody for Fed chairman. He basically, after a long story in here, talks about how Treasury Secretary Bessent has suggested expanding the investigation beyond the cost of renovating the Fed headquarters to examination of the entire Federal Reserve institution to determine if the Fed has succeeded in its mission. This suggests Secretary Bessent would support passing the Audit the Fed legislation, which is a step towards returning to a constitutional and sound monetary policy. However, anyone who understands Austrian economics knows a fiat money system managed by a secretive central bank can never succeed in creating lasting prosperity and will eventually crash the economy. Any time every dollar that's made is done in debt and erodes the value of the thing you just had them print, every single one of them erodes more and more and more. The percentage that we've lost in buying power since the Fed took over our monetary system back in 1913. So no person or persons can know the correct interest rates. The Federal Reserve's attempts to control interest rates are destructive like other central planning. The proper answer to who should the Fed chairman is nobody. This is Ron Paul that said this kind of good point that he makes. This is just kind of funny. And Jim Cramer says the F-bomb live, so if you're sensitive to the F word, I don't know why you're listening to my show, because I drop those frequently enough. But this was pretty funny, and it was so funny to watch, I think, the reactions of him, because he knew he effed up, and just the other people on there, the two other guys, and just laughing at it. And one guy even says, you know, Jesus Christ, right? Like, he even said, anyway, you'll see. It's just kind of, it's messed up and funny at the same time. I don't know.
Our biggest problem is we have so much growth that the Fed won't cut. What the fuck? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I take it right back.
Everybody,
I take it right back.
It's okay.
That was bad.
It's okay. We're in the moment.
I take it right back.
It's just the way
I take it right back. That was bad.
It's cable with a ticker, as Joe Kernan would say.
I take that back.
That's right.
Real people doing live TV.
No.
Jim, though, to your point, Goldman today, the most notable change.
I think I'm out of here.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely
Goldman
fine.
today, the most notable.
You want me to say one?
No, I just feel like enough with the rate cut and the economy's booming.
Let Carl talk now.
Goldman today, most notable change since the June Fed meeting.
Again, pretty funny, right? I mean, he's right. I mean, seldom is. Seldom is he ever right. Howley introduced a bill to provide $600 tariff rebates to adults and children. I get if you're having kids, you should get money for your kids in a rebate, and I hope that's what he means. But if you're literally talking about giving children money from the government, I have a problem with that. I'm a taxpayer. I pay a lot of taxes. Children don't pay shit. They're expensive as hell, but they don't actually pay taxes themselves. So again, for the parent, that's totally cool, for sure. Dude, you got kids, you should get some extra dough. I think they're saying $500 per kid. But if you actually are giving that to the child, yeah, that's frightening. I hope that's not what the case was. Dependent children and to their dependent. And see, and to their dependent children. If any of you are curious where I came to that strange, it's the phrasing of it. Like President Trump proposed, my legislation would allow hardworking Americans to benefit from the wealth that Trump tariffs are returning to this country. Let's see. It would provide $1,200 direct payments to adults and $500 direct payments to children. See, I don't like that idea. If kids are going to get money, no. Why would you give kids money? If you got extra money to give out, give it to the adults that pay for the kids. Or those of us that pay taxes and don't necessarily have kids. But I get it. You got kids, you should get more money for sure. It costs you way more money than I do. That's why I smile all the time. I'm always happy that I don't have kids. And I'm not married. Two good things going on. Dude, you guys got to check this stuff out. My spot is so, like, I looked at it this morning in the mirror. It's the weird part of it's gone. It's just down to the smallest little, the reddish part of it. Like, it was like the center of it, kind of, but it was sort of off center. But it's like shrunk so much. I am loving it. This stuff, the ivermectin bendazole, this parasite cleanse is incredible. Bestseller, can't recommend it enough. And it's honestly, it's not because it is pricey, but it's 90 days worth. It is a strong amount, and if you break it down per pill, how much it costs, and then you go and actually find out what would it cost me to get 25 milligrams of ivermectin, what would it cost me to get 250 milligrams of mebendazole, this is actually a good buy, especially 90 days worth. It's done by doctors. It's 100% legal. TWC.health/OTF, TWC.health/OTF. If you did a sleeve roll, the Ultimate Spike Detox is your go-to. If you're living with a sleeve roller, the Ultimate Spike Detox is a big one that you want to check out. They've got some really good stuff with longevity. They've also got the what's the blue stuff? They've got that stuff in here somewhere. How do you find it? Where's it at? Is it Cleanse and Detox maybe? Sometimes they move stuff around and it makes it a little challenging to find it, but the methylene blue, here it is, Recharge. That's what that one's called. Methylene blue, PQQ, and NAD+. So this is a really good one if you're into getting energy. Again, I got a couple things I use. The Root Brands has a really good focus. That stuff's awesome. And then I love the I can't remember all the names, all the crap. Prime, stuff's so rad. So again, some of us are getting some of these things from other places, but the Parasite Cleanse is bar none awesome. I've noticed a lot of things that have happened, especially with my digestive system. I had a lot of bloating that went away almost immediately. That was actually one of the first kind of cool things. And then, I'm reasonably sure some stuff died inside of me. I don't want to be more specific, but yeah. So there's a lot of cool ways you can come in here, shop. The emergency kits are fantastic. By the way, the Contagion Kit is an antiviral. You're not going to be worried about it while you're doing the cleanse, though, because that is antiparasitic, antiviral. Your going to be fine for 90 days. That's for sure. Very good stuff, though. They got first aid kits. They've got travel kits. They've got, and one of the things to keep in mind is if you got kids, your kids don't have first aid kits. Maybe you can just buy them some supplies. That might be smart. But the travel ones are the really good ones. Having something in your car, you should always have a blanket in your car. Ladies, you should always have some comfortable shoes in your car. You should have clothes, a change, something warm, just in case. You should always have stuff like that in your car, water, some emergency supplies, just in case you get stranded. It will make the difference between life and death, or if you end up having to walk 6 miles, you don't want to be wearing heels while you're doing that. So be smart about living your life and have a first aid kit. Travel kits are really good. They fit in cars nicely, or you can even just put a legit one in there. But again, everything you could possibly want. TWC.health/OTF. TWC.health/OTF. They've even got virtual care. Like if you've got questions, you want to talk to a doctor, you can do that. They're really awesome. And this is Dr. Drew Pensky, Dr. McKenna, and a bunch of other doctors. Just some great stuff going on. So TWC.health/OTF. Take advantage of it. Get some good health stuff. Get on your parasite cleanse if you haven't already, and you will be amazed. Yes. So check it all out. Again, TWC.health/OTF. All right. Around the world. Got a few things kind of happening around the world right now. Weird stuff, too. I've heard this one spun a little bit. What I basically understand, Europe's defense giant naval group was hit with a major breach. They got hacked hard. They took a bunch of data. They got CMS stuff, which has to do with the submarines. I don't know exactly what that stands for. I was going to look it up, but the source code to power the CMS of military ships, like the control module systems or something. I don't know. But it's pretty bad. Many are saying that they could launch nukes with this hack. I don't believe so. I believe, and you guys would know this, the military people out there for sure know this better, but my understanding is it's not just like a button, like some random schmo can't just be like, hit the button. I think there's like keys involved, there's protocol, like launching nukes is a big deal. So I don't think generally you would just leave that up to your command systems in your ship. Maybe I'm wrong, but they did probably get some some interesting stuff. Some of it seemed dated back to around 2003. But technical documents on a lot of different levels, probably even stuff they may have figured out about other countries' stuff, maybe, but they didn't hack our equipment. I think this was France or Europe, their defense sector specifically. French state, the two main shareholders are the French state and the Thales group, which sounds deep state to me. Or Thales, Palace, I don't know how they pronounce that. I had a teacher with the last name Thies, and she pronounced it T's. Probably because thighs was a shit word. I don't know, whatever. All said, yeah, this is got potential to be problematic. I think it's being blown up a little bit because they want to, but it is interesting. You've got to wonder who made the hack. That's a pretty big deal to hack a government system like that. That would definitely reek of deep state and or China or whatever, but deep state I would feel. Yeah, again, strange. Houthis are going to escalate attacks on ships linked in anybody dealing with Israel at all. They're going to continue attacking their ships. I'm wondering how that's going to escalate and how we get involved with that, or if Israel's going to handle that. I don't know. Rubio declares that Maduro is not the president of Venezuela. He says he is not the president of Venezuela, and his regime is not the legitimate government. Boom. Maduro is the head of the Cartel de los Soles, a narco-terror organization which has taken possession of a country, and he is under indictment for pushing drugs into the United States. The United States is borderline going to war with Venezuela. That's kind of cool. I mean, it's not, but it is. But it's not, but it is. It's not, but it totally is. Yeah. Let's see. Thai, Cambodia, they agreed to a ceasefire. Good job, Trump. Trump said, I won't talk to you guys at all until there's a ceasefire. And no. That's not going to work at all. You guys can't afford this war, and it's just going to be worse otherwise if we start charging you high tariffs. So they both stopped fighting. They're shaking hands like good boys and girls, which is awesome. Thailand and Cambodia, to my basic understanding, they got some disputes upon the border. A lot of lines have been drawn. Maps have been messed up. People say that that's really my land, and it's not, and whatever. So, yeah, that's at least they put an end to it. I don't know. There's probably an amicable way to solve that, but whether they do or not. Mexican government deploys large security operations they avoid entering into cartel-controlled areas. They're doing this because they want to make it look like they're in charge and they're actually fighting the cartels, but they're not actually going into the cartel-controlled areas. I don't know for sure, but I'm reasonably sure the president of Mexico is owned by the cartels or afraid of them, and for good reason possibly. She probably can't keep herself safe from them no matter what. Cartels are tough, and Trump has frequently said, you guys want help? And she's like, no, we don't need your help. Trump's like, all right, at some point we're probably just going to attack them anyways, just letting you know, and then we'll see what you think about it. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on down there. South Africa, they're ready for U.S. sanctions. They have decided to do this anti-Israel, they call them the apartheid state. They're trying to go to the world courts. They basically are pushing all this stuff. And so, yeah, of course, they're going to have sanctions from us, and they're ready for it. I think South Africa's already got issues anyway, as far as with our administration. They're like, what? We're not killing Christians. What are you talking about? And he's like, here's pictures of it happening. So, again, we've got issues with South Africa. Not sure what's going down in South Africa town, but it is not a good place right now, that's for sure. All right, all sorts of other crazy crap. We've got Netanyahu is now planning to annex Gaza. This is going to just be fun how this next phase goes. He's carving out an entire place for Israel. Let's put it that way. There is not going to be any Palestinians. And England and France declaring that there's a Palestinian state is irrelevant at this point in time for sure, especially as Israel does this. I think he's given them a period of time to move out, and then he's just going to start moving them out and killing whoever's there. I mean, yeah. It'll be interesting how that plays out. It's not cool, but Trump is, it's like, all right, do what you got to do. We seem to be supporting it, but I don't think he wants him fighting outside the borders. He's like, stop blowing up people in other countries, though, dude. Stay in your lane. Stay in your... You want to kill people? Go take out Gaza. And he's like, I can do that? The guy just probably wants to kill people, right? He's like, I just want to kill some people. I don't think Netanyahu's a nice man. I don't know, whatever. He's probably the right one to help him with these wars, but the Gog-Magog did not happen, is not happening. They're still trying to get it to happen, but it's not. President Trump publicly disagreed with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's assertions that there is no starvation in Gaza. He's like, bro, I've seen the TV. There's starvation. It's hard to fake that. So he's like, I don't buy this for half a second. So publicly, he's told Netanyahu, dude, you need to do more. You need to do more about this. I guess here it is.
It's going to be working with the United States. We'll be helping with the food. We have a lot of access to food. We got a lot of food ourselves. And we're going to bring it over there. We're also going to make sure that they don't have barriers stopping people. You've seen the areas where they actually have food, and the people are screaming for the food in there. They're 35, 40 yards away, and they won't let them because they have lines that are set up. And whether they're set up by Hamas or whoever, but they're very strict lines, so we have to get rid of those lines. But we're going to be getting some good, strong food. We can save a lot of people. I mean, some of those kids that's real starvation stuff. I see it. And you can't fake that. So we're going to be even more involved. We did some airlifts before, some airdrops, and the people are running for it. And the Prime Minister is going to help us. They're very effective with that. You've done that before, and for many, they've done that for 100 years very well. So it's not very hard to do, actually.
Not very hard to do, that's for sure. Trump issues fresh nuclear threat to Iran. He basically says, look, if you guys start reprocessing uranium, we will blow it up too. Just letting you know, FYI, you won't see it coming. We'll see you building it. You won't be able to hide. Trust me. So, yeah, he's just letting them know that's an empty threat. Russia's Aeroflot was forced to cancel over 50 flights after a major pro-Ukrainian cyber attack. Apparently, Belarus was involved in this, or a Belarusian hacker group. Belarus is typically very pro-Russia, so whatever. I feel like that's maybe meant to make it look like it's like a friend of. They kind of do this type of stuff when like people close to Trump, like somebody that was in Trump's original administration. They'll try to make him sound like because he was once close to Trump, we should feel bad that he's saying bad things about him or whatever. Whatever the case is, it's not cool that this happened. Apparently, some sort of took down their flight systems or something crazy. I wonder if it tied into that same thing that hit France, like if that was similar technology. Maybe, who knows who that was doing that either, for that matter. President Trump set a new shorter deadline for Russia He's basically said 10 to 12 days. I think he said it that way because he was in Scotland, and I think as of today, and I might have the actual quote of him doing it, but as of today, there it is. Today is day 10. So he does a little breaking news for the people. Check this out.
9 to 10 to 12 days. Has that started yet, or when can we, see the official statement that is the new deadline?
I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you now. Do you want a big scoop?
Yes, please.
Everybody else, close your ears, okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
10 days from today.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
Good. We have a scoop. And then, we're going to put on tariffs and stuff, and I don't know if it's going to affect Russia, because he wants to obviously probably keep the war going. But we're going to put on tariffs and the various things that you put on. It may or may not affect them. But
so he actually limited it an extra day. Remember, yesterday he said 12 days, 10 to 12 days, and now he's saying 10 days from today. So that means it's an 11-day thing. The tariffs, by the way, would mainly be on those who do trade with Russia. So it would have a big impact on them. But he's right when he says it doesn't know if Vladimir Putin actually cares about this, instead wants to keep the war going.
I think it's fair to say we're seeing the deal making.
And well, that's the expertise about what Trump is doing here. Trump isn't hurting Russia directly, and we can't. We've already sanctioned them. We've already done everything we can to shut them down, and they're still doing fine. But what we can do is raise tariffs or stuff like that, or sanctions, against countries that Russia trades with, that it does business with, BRICS nations and stuff like that. And that actually starts to create a problem, because these nations have a good relationship with us, and they have a good relationship with Russia. But we're making that difficult. And they're not necessarily going to get mad at us because we are one of the largest markets. We buy way more stuff than Russia does. We've got energy too. So Russia's going to be in a little bit of a pinch on this one. So this is a brilliant move on Trump's spot. The way he's handling this is and then the world's like, all right, well, he's done something. He doesn't look like a Putin puppet. He's not supporting this war, right? And he's also, at the same time, not just shoving more weapons into Ukraine's hands, because that's just going to kill more Ukrainians. That's all that's going to happen from that. More war will happen if we continue to give weapons. Zelensky either A, needs to get voted out of office, or B, needs to get them out of that war and just accept the fact that they've lost some land. Again, maybe Putin doesn't even want to at this point. Maybe he's just like, you know what, we're going to take over this entire country. And I don't know, maybe that's what ends up happening. We'll find out. Initially, he said they had to be denazified, all weapons removed, and they cannot be part of NATO. But Russia's been very specific about what they're after. Make no mistake, that's exactly what they're going for, right? They don't give a crap about us or what we think about it. They're going to take care of business, right? They've been the world's boogie monster, Baba Yaga, for a long time now, right? So Kremlin responds to Trump's deadline challenge, and then chill. They're just very relaxed. They're like, we have taken into account President Trump's statement yesterday. That's cool. We got it. And ultimately what they're saying is, we understand what he's doing. We understand what the president's doing. That's cool. And I hope that Russia is essentially trying to get this war taken care of. They did another hard attack just last night. 21 were killed by Russian strikes on Ukrainian prison facilities, which is strange, but I'm sure it was probably something other than a prison facility. It seems weird to blow one of those up, right? We're going to blow up a prison. Why? That's stupid. But they hit it with glide bombs and missiles. So, 21 people died. My guess is it was a military facility, probably. And if it was a military prison of some kind, then they probably hit the command barracks or something very specific, because 21 people, I doubt they were trying to blow up prisoners. That, again, would be stupid. That'd be a waste of ammo. So, again, Russian airstrike, they are assuming they took out 21 Nazis, or maybe 15 Nazis and unfortunate people that were too close. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how those numbers play out. EU halts sending $1.7 billion in aid to Ukraine after a bill passing. They politicized the anti-corruption agencies. We talked about how Zelensky was essentially trying to take control of these two anti-corruption boards. One of them because they were starting to investigate his own inner circle. So then he decided to take control of it, because that's what dictators do. And so Europe is like, well, you're not using that properly. We don't think you're actually being a good government right now. So the money we told you we'd give you for being a good government, and it's basically what this is. What do they call this? The funding that was meant to reward Ukraine for good governance standards. Literally. 4.5 billion euros in funding that was meant to reward Ukraine for good governance standards. For basically being a good biatch in the wars. So they're holding back 1.7 billion because of what Zelensky did. Now, I thought I'd read a story already that Zelensky backtracked on that. So I think he has, and I think the timings of this are probably a little off. Just the News, no offense, is usually a little slow to getting stuff. Though that John Solomon dude does a great job getting stuff out quickly. I have huge props for him, but the site in general is usually a little slow. Heavy rain wreaks havoc in Beijing. So again, just for all you guys that are like, China's doing this to us. I don't know. I don't know what's going on right now. I think we're either all doing it to each other, the deep state's doing it, or magnetic fields actually playing a role in what's happening. I don't know. It doesn't have anything. I'm not going to state anything too crazy, but yeah, whatever the case is, we're getting floods like crazy all over the place. I know what people would want to say on both sides of the fence, and I frankly don't have any proof either way at all, unfortunately. But yeah, stuff is happening. Crazy stuff. Wars, rumors of wars, a lot of crazy stuff's happening these days. ICC has no authority to probe ex-Philippines President Duterte's daughter has said. Original Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has been in the criminal court, the International Criminal Court, for a while. They arrested him, I guess, years after they left the organization, so they really didn't have jurisdiction even to come and arrest him. Somehow he was arrested, and he's still being imprisoned there. They actually wanted to go after his daughter, Sarah, but he's like, they basically, I think some other folks in the international community are like, you can't go after her. She didn't do anything wrong. What they're mad at him for, and by the way, it's funny. My girlfriend loves this about him. He's supposedly a very popular dude in the Philippines. Now, not everybody probably loves him, but he was took a very strong stance anti-drug. Very strong stance. Anybody that was a drug dealer, and this is probably why the international community is especially pissed, because major players in the drug community were probably killed. And that's what he did. He killed. And in some cases, they may not have gotten a real fair trial. It might have just been like, dude, I just found you with all sorts of drugs. It's totally illegal. It's a death penalty. So, and that's why the international community came after him. But from what I understand, and from what a lot of people on the ground say, it changed everything. The drug problem stopped. It was just way better. Like, it made the community safer and better. So what Duterte did, it seems, albeit radical as hell, made an enormous difference. And my guess is he was going after organized crime specifically. And so that's why the ICC is involved. So he's another political prisoner, I think. Girlfriend, they love him. They don't like the bong bong. They don't like the family that's in there. Marcos's. Now, Imelda Marcos they were part of the corruption of the Philippines back in the day. They were selling out their own people like mad. The chick had 10,000 pairs of shoes. So Bong Bong is her son or cousin or what? I think it's her son. So yeah, they're back in that family now. So again, none of this stuff's good. Alliance Life says majority of customers' personal data was stolen in the cyber attack. I don't know if any of you guys have Alliance Life. I don't know if they're 1.4 million. It sounds like they're pretty damn small. But yeah, you guys, they got hacked. All your info, all your health stuff. So be careful if any of you guys are part of Alliance and you start getting weird phone calls saying, hey, we can get you medications for cheaper. Don't trust them. Don't trust them. What does the Online Safety Act do? This is the stupid Europe British thing. Trying to protect children. It's always about protecting children, but ultimately what this is about trying to protect. They're trying to get rid of free speech, and they're trying to do it under the we must protect the children. Here's the thing, folks. If you're a parent, you can control what shit is on your kid's phone. Take ownership of your own frickin' family, folks. Don't expect the government to do it for you. These things are not necessarily a good idea because now you're asking your child to register. Now they're announcing that they're children to a database that once they give that information out to all their little pedo friends, now they know who to come after. Nothing about this is a good idea. Parents, control your kids. If they've got stuff on their phone, you can control a lot of that stuff. You can't use Twitter. I'm not going to let you on TikTok, or they can set up the account for them so it's a child account and they can't get around it. Do videos on how to do it. Like how can I block my kid on TikTok, or how can I force my kid to only see okay things on YouTube or whatever. Go do some videos. Find out what you can do. Don't expect the government to do it, because the government's going to screw everybody, all for the sake of the kids, when we know how many kids were getting trafficked through this country every year. How many kids was it? 400,000 plus kids trafficked. So none of this stuff is ever for what they say it is. It's not for the kids. That's what they say. Like the freedom, what was it, after 9/11? What was the Patriot Act? Oh, Lord, right? The Patriot, you're not a patriot? Yeah, of course, they always choose a name. It's for the kids. No, it's not. Child sexual abuse, sure. Control or coercive behavior, it's awesome. A lot of this stuff shouldn't be on there, sure. Extreme sexual violence, not supposed to be there ever anyway. Extreme pornography, not supposed to be there. Fraud, not supposed to be there. Racially or religiously aggravated public order offenses, not supposed to be there already. Inciting violence, not allowed to do already. It's illegal. Illegal immigration and people smuggling, once again, not okay. Promoting or facilitating suicide, not okay. Intimate image abuse, still not okay. I mean, it happens a lot, unfortunately. That happens with kids frequently. They get into these conversations with pedos, and they pretend to be younger, and then they get them to send images, and then they hold those as extortion and force them to do other videos. That's how a lot of this stuff happens. You should be spending time with your kids and knowing what the hell's going on. You should know when they're acting different. You should know when there's problems. You should be involved with your kids. Stop letting everybody else handle that for you. You can't sell drugs or weapons already, can't do sexual exploitation already, and you can't do terrorism already. So these are things that they're now saying, but the problem is when you get down into this one, priority content, bullying, abusive or hateful content, content which depicts or encourages serious violence or injury, not supposed to do that, that's cool. Content which encourages dangerous stunts and challenges, definitely not cool, right? Content which encourages the ingestion, inhalation, or exposure to harmful substances, definitely not cool. But these two, oh, very discretionary. Very, very discretionary, aren't they? Yeah, so this is what they're doing. Again, we've got a kid act right now that's trying to pass through Congress, the Kids Online Safety Act. See, smells like it's a good thing, but it's not. It's exactly like what the UK is doing. Senator Blackburn, a Republican, is introducing this. Tennessee's all weird about this. I don't know what it is. Tennessee's crazy. No offense. I lived there for 5 years. I mean, they are very strict when it comes to laws. Kind of like Texas. Texas don't mess around either. You guys got some really, like, you can't, I don't know if medical marijuana is okay in Tennessee yet, but I know it's not in Texas. Like, Texas is like weirdly anti, like, anybody doing that. You can drink beer all damn day and shoot guns in the sky, but you can't friggin' smoke a joint. Like, nope. You might get smarter. So, yes, we're trying to pass that as well. Oh, just in case you're not paying attention. The bill is 1748, I guess. S.1748. Yeah. I guess that's its number. All right, whatever. Oh, there it is. S2929? CRS 2929 -2930. Whatever. Yeah, Kids Online Safety Act. That's definitely probably not a good thing. As much as it sounds good, it's not. It's meant to silence truth. In fact, we've got Trump talking about that in a second. House is probing Spotify over censorship after Joe Rogan and Steve Bannon's disinformation controversies. I feel like it's a day late and a dollar short, but whatever. They're digging into Spotify, which, to be honest, they did a better job than YouTube did. YouTube was editing the crap out of Rogan, and then so that's why he switched over to Spotify. They kept taking away his monetization. In fact, them giving back my channel, that was the one thing I checked immediately and noticed, and I was like, cool, is they took away the monetization, which actually gives me a chance. Once you monetize, you're screwed. You can't talk about so many things you can't talk about. I can talk about stuff carefully without monetization. That's why I do my own commercials. So I take that part out of the loop, if you will. House Judiciary Committee on Tuesday launched an investigation into Spotify. Yeah, we did that. Cool. Britons flocked to VPNs to dodge new age verification checks online. Now, if it's kids doing this, again, they're savvier than most adults or parents. You should probably be mindful of that. But I will also warn some of you guys that think the VPN's the answer to everything. It was one of my favorite commercials that X22 used to always do. But I'm like, you can't log into X with a VPN. You can't log into Rumble with a VPN. It won't let you. A lot of these companies that are getting in trouble around the world won't let you log into them with VPNs. A lot of times. I mean, I don't know all of them. Rumble, I know, can't, and I don't think X will let you. So again, it's fun to talk about, I'll use a VPN. doesn't necessarily work. So whatever, do what you can. Donald Trump tells Keir Starmer to cut taxes and deal with immigration and crime. Pretty sweet how he kind of tells him what he should do, what worked well, but he does it in a cool way. He does it in a way, like I'll let you see it, but he does it in a way that I think allows Keir to almost have it be like his idea. And the fact that Trump's also working with Nigel Farage, and I think he points that out too, which is sort of a little backhanded stab there.
Well, I do know he wants to cut taxes as much as he can. And, politics is pretty simple. I assume there's a thing going on between you and Nigel, and it's okay. It's two parties. But generally speaking, the one who cuts taxes the most, the one who gives you the lowest energy prices and the best kind of energy, the one that keeps you out of wars, he's kept you out of wars, but the one that keeps you out of wars, you have a few basics, and you can go back 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years, whoever does these things, but low taxes, keep us safe, keep us out of wars, no crime, stop the crime, and in your case, a big immigration component, because I know that your attitude has become strong on immigration, strong on the toughness of immigration. But I think whoever's going to be, I think I won because we had a lousy president, to be honest with you. We had an incompetent president. But I won because I was very strong on immigration. Now, we had inflation. We had sort of a bad economy with this guy. We had a lot of problems. But I focused on immigration more than I did anything else. And I think I won because of immigration. I think I won because of the border. I had a bad border where millions of people were coming in to our country illegally. And as you know, in last month, 0 people came into our country illegally, 0. So we went from a bad, incompetently run border to the most competently run border that anybody's ever seen.
So I don't know if you caught that, but he basically spelled out every single grievance that the British people have in the way Trump ran for America. But every single thing he called out is what is pissing off the Brits right now, especially this, they've got this situation, I want to say, I don't know where it's at. It's in one of the cities, one of the small suburbs, and there's a bunch of immigrants, and they've been doing these kind of gang rape things, I guess. And so it's pissing off a lot of locals. Nobody's really talking about it there. It's really pissing off people. So there's in fact, they're so pissed you can actually tell, which is amazing. This is where Trump basically talks about don't censor us on truth. I thought it was pretty funny how Trump does this, and I guess my video's a bit long today, but 2 days of news. I had a lot of news to go through.
Mr. President, you have a successful social media site. There are new powers here to censor your site, state-mandated powers.
To censor my site?
To censor your site and Twitter
Truth?
and Facebook.
Truth?
I mean Truth. Is that okay?
Well, I don't think he's going to censor my site because I say only good things. Will you please uncensor my site?
Yeah, we're not censoring anyone. We've got some measures which are there to protect children, in particular from sites like suicide sites. We've had too many cases in the United Kingdom of young children taking their own lives, and when you look through their social media, they've been accessing sites which talk about suicide and encouraging, if you like, children down that road, and that is what we want to stop. There's nothing about censoring free speech.
But that treats all adults like children.
This country is the proud.
But that can treat all adults like children.
Free speech in this country has been for a very long time. We're very, very proud of it. We will protect it forever. But at the same time, I personally feel very strongly that we should protect our young teenagers, and that's what it usually is, from things like suicide sites. I don't see that as a free speech issue. I see that as a child protection issue.
We actually passed a bill in Congress, headed up by my wife, actually, which was to pull bad stuff out having to do with children, because it is a problem. But I cannot imagine him censoring Truth Social. This is more of a very political, and it's been a very big success.
It's not going to happen.
And I only say good things about him and his country, so if they censor me, you're making a mistake. I'm going to give my ambassador the job, make sure it's not censored. I had not heard that.
Now, again, no offense, Keir, but you guys' free speech is suck. And in fact, you guys just got busted big time for how you were hiding a big secret. I forget all the exact details, but the court even came out and said you guys weren't able to keep that from the public any longer. And again, people have gotten in trouble for just even saying things anti-transgender, for example. You're not allowed to do that, right? And so, again, there's just been a lot of very interesting things. That the Harry Potter chick has been very adamant and talking and vocal about a lot of that stuff and pushing the deadline. So this is funny. They asked Trump if he was going to visit London. I like his response.
Will you visit London during the state visit?
I will. I'm not a fan of your mayor.
Why not?
I think he's done a terrible job, the mayor of London. But the nasty person, I think he's done. I think he's
a friend of mine, right?
No, I think he's done a terrible job. But I would certainly visit London. Yeah.
So what is important to understand is the Queen, one time a year, or probably the King even now too, had to go to the mayor's place, like in London, take her shoes off, I guess, and like walk in and essentially show her obedience to London. So what Trump is saying, the mayor of London's considered one of the most powerful people, I believe, in the world. Kind of, I mean, in a weird, hidden way. But yeah, so something to keep in mind when he's making comments like that. Jim Jordan, Congressman Fitzgerald, and Congressman Kevin Kiley are currently in the UK meeting with Nigel Farage to discuss free speech in the United Kingdom. Kind of curious what all they're talking about. We can only speculate, but we'll see if Jim ever does come out with any of it. Some tech stuff. Samsung's Texas fab is going to build Tesla's next generation AI chips. It's the 6th generation chip. They're going to start building them. I think right now they're using 4th generation. TSMC is going to make the 5th generation. And I think by the time they get this Samsung facility up and running and they start manufacturing, that'll be that 6th gen chip, which they're supposed to use for their autopilot stuff. So we'll see how that goes. Apparently what you share with ChatGPT can be used against you. So if any of you all are crazy enough to just have random conversations or admit to things that are possibly illegal to ChatGPT, it can be searched. There is zero protection at all. Zero protection. I don't even know if there's settings, but there's zero protection. Everything you say to ChatGPT can and will be used against you. Let's just say that. So be careful, is all I can say. NRC approvals move Palisades nuclear plant closer to a restart. I believe this is over in Michigan, right? I want to say it was Michigan, somewhere in here. Whatever. Yeah, there it is, Michigan. Cool for Michigan, by the way, because they need power, especially if you're going to be manufacturing more cars in Michigan again. So anyway, that's kind of cool. This is going to be back in license. They finally got the fuel approval. And apparently that's one of the last big things that's got to happen. I'm sure that once they get everything set up and loaded up, probably a last couple double checks, and then this thing's getting turned back on. So very, very cool. 835 megawatt reactor. Oh, wait, no, this one's over 800. There it is, 800 megawatt. They're talking about 3 Mile Island. But yeah, anywho. Let's see. We got Trump Environmental Protection Agency moves to repeal findings that allow climate regulations. This goes back to the Obama administration and when they essentially made carbon dioxide the enemy of state. This is being undone by Lee Zeldin from the EPA. So we'll see how long it takes them to unravel all that. Researchers conspire to hide tests to dim the sun to avoid scaring the public. This is scary, kind of. University of Washington research team covertly planned a solar geoengineering experiment to dim sunlight by creating clouds over a 3,900 square mile ocean area off North America, Chile, or South Central Africa. The Marine Cloud Brightening Program, backed by billionaire donors like Chris Larson, deliberately withheld plans from the public and local officials to avoid scaring them, as revealed in internal texts. A smaller test on a retired aircraft carrier in Alameda, California, was halted in June 2024 after city officials, unaware until media reports surfaced, banned it for violating lease terms. Yeah, they ain't allowed to do that. So, yeah. They are trying. We're catching them, folks. We're catching them with stuff. That's all we can say, right? That's all we can do. Again, a lot going on. I got a pretty good music show coming. I got a late start on pulling music. What I'm basically doing is pulling some of my favorite songs. It should be a pretty bitchin' show. The trip when I was on Catalina, there was a couple songs that I kept listening to. Well, one, I spent about an hour trying to figure out what the hell it was, and then I finally found it. It was just like, oh. So that song's being played, and then I'm playing another song that's just super cool, and then it just loaded up a lot of other cool songs. So I've still got some more music to pull, but It's going to be a good show on Friday. So hopefully you guys join us on the live show. If not, you should listen to it afterwards and at least hear some great music. I love you guys. We're going to be doing, of course, Law of One on Thursday. I've still got to record that. I'm behind the 8 ball a little bit. We're going to get caught up, though, here quickly. I love you guys. We're doing this together, and we're going to make it. We're going to change it. We're the leaders of the world. We're the leaders of the future. We're the ones that a lot of people are going to look up to. So keep those things in mind. And always, of course, remember, where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.